Good evening and welcome everyone to the Scientist Reverse Grid League here in the Einstein League tonight. We have two races ahead of us in beautiful Sao Paulo, Brazil, and after that in the painful country of Spain, where pain and spins go hand in hand, of course, because that's what they have to do at this track. But nevertheless, it's not us who is driving there, it's them, so we're gonna watch them having success or just a complete bin night. But for the moment, we are here in Brazil. We take a look at the championship standings at the moment, and right now, as it stands, P1 in the Drivers' Championship is D'Cunha in the Alpine with 76 points. Sebastian in the Mercedes behind him in P2 with 72 points, and then Wolselby in the Alpha with 71 in P3. That's the fight for P1 at the moment. Then we have a gap of 15 points to GMAC, who has 56. Casto in the Mercedes in P5 with 51. Professor Zoo 47. Boltex 42 in P7. And down to P10, Raisin with 39 in P8. Sepdek with 39 also in P8, and then P10 Moshe with 31 at the moment. So the gap between P1 and P10 is only around 40 points. Of course, we have just done 5 races in the season and everything can still change, but for the moment that's our Drivers' Championship. In the Constructors, Mercedes is leading with 123 points, Alpine behind with 118, and Alfa Romeo 110, and AlphaTauri in P4 with 96. So it's only about 30 points between the first 4 teams, which is really tight at the moment, which is great for the championship overall. Tonight we have 14 runners in. One in the Aston Martin, behind him Tiny in the Haas, then Angry Orange, Sebastian, D'Cunha, Professor Zoo in P6 in the AlphaTauri, then Septa, Casto, Wolselby, Ryan Van Doom and his teammate Raisin in P11, and then both Red Bulls with Eskimo, Moshe and Rob starting in P14. Unfortunately, 3 guys haven't made it in time tonight. That's unfortunate. Maybe they can and will show up for the second race of the night. But as it stands right now, we have 14 runners in Brazil, which means that still 14 cars have to conquer turn 1. And in Brazil, that can be pretty nasty. We take a look, of course, at the position changes during the race, the pit stops and the tires. As we can see now, Professor Zoo is the first one who's starting on mediums in P6, and then Wolselby, Ryan Van Doom, Raisin and Rob on mediums. Everyone else is starting on softs. We'll also take a look at the penalties, of course. We'll have a look at the telemetry during the race so we can see how much ERS is left with the boys, and then of course the full track map so you can follow your favorite driver. Feel free to post a comment or two during the race. If you have any questions, just post them, or something funny or nasty to tell, just put it in. Don't worry about anything, just get it in, and we maybe also put it in the stream to just get it on a little bit. Right now, the drivers form up to the starting grid to get this race going here in Sao Paulo in the beautiful sun of Brazil. The game needs a second, and now we go. We have 4, 5 red lights, pole position, and he has good start, but Angry Orange has an even better stat. Around the outside, braking very late, very deep into the corner, and that's P1 for him. Paul almost losing his car here on the curb. Tiny seeing the gap, getting the chance, and is up to P2, and Ticunia up to P3. What a start for him. That's 2 positions for Ticunia. Paul lost 3 at the start here. Sebastian right behind him lost the position. Ticunia made up 2 against those 2. And the Ferraris both made good positions here. Ryan Van Doom P7, Raisin P9, Walter B down to P14, Zoo down to P30. So something happened to those 2. There are... Oh, Castro down to P12 too. So something must have happened here. Professor Zoo is right behind Castro. Walter B in P14. Let's see if we can catch maybe some wing damage. Yeah, Castro's wing damage on the left side. Professor Zoo on the right side. And I'm guessing that Walter B also has damage. Let's see what they're doing. Yeah, Castro coming in. Professor Zoo coming in. Walter B staying out. So maybe Walter B just got caught out in an incident, like Charlie Negrec would say. Angry Orange still leading the race in front of Tiny, Ticunia and Paul. Sebastian still in P5. Septek behind. Raisin from P9 up to P7 now. Overtook his teammate in P8. Eskimo up to P9 now. 3 positions for him. Trying to attack Ryan Van Doom. Ticunia with the 3-second time penalty, and something happened to Paul. He lost his car. He's down to P7 now. Maybe loss of traction or talent. He knows best. But it's P7 for the moment. Eskimo in P9. Trying to get the advantage on Ryan Van Doom. Yeah, he's on soft. Ryan Van Doom on mediums. Does Ryan Van Doom have damage? He seems a little bit off. We can't see the damage, but maybe he feels it. And Eskimo is pushing right now to go over Ryan Van Doom. DRS is enabled now. Tiny with the fastest lap. Eskimo right behind Ryan Van Doom. And Ryan Van Doom, okay, he was... Thank you, Codemasters. Ryan Van Doom was grass, but now he's back on track. Both using ERS to defend and to attack. Eskimo around the outside with the DRS. Still around the outside, making the corner ahead of Ryan Van Doom. That's P8 for him. Now he has to defend. He's on the inside of the next right-hander. And he's defending the position. Ryan Van Doom trying to attack him back, but Eskimo blocking the line. Defending on the inside, and that's P8 for him for sure now. Right behind in P10. Trying maybe to get Ryan Van Doom too. Raisin already up to P6. He overtook Paul, who's now down to P7, who had kind of a miserable start. But nothing's lost here. Only lap 3 of 18. At the top, Angry Orange still in P1. Behind him, Tiny and Ticunia, and Raisin is going for another overtake against Sebastian for P5. He has him with the help of DRS. P5 for Raisin, who's marching through the field on his medium tires, making the alternate strategy work for the moment. Next victim coming up for him is Septek in the Alfa Romeo in P4, who also had a great start by gaining 3 positions. Best start at the moment, of course, Raisin, who went up from P11 to P5, and Eskimo from P12 to P8. And Professor Zoo just overtook Casto on the main straight with the help of DRS. Those 2 are pushing now, both on... No, not both on the mediums. Professor Zoo's on the softs. So he's probably hoping for a safety car. We're jumping on board with Raisin now. He's pretty close to Septek's rear end. He will have the DRS on the main straight, so no need to activate your ERS here. Septek is not using it because he knows Raisin will just have the advantage of DRS here. And Septek tries his best just to stay behind and get the DRS back. Oh, and we have Sebastian and Paul fighting for position here. Paul overtook Sebastian. And now they both will have the DRS. Let's see if Sebastian has more ERS. Oh, he's coming very quick here. Oh, side by side. Inside, leaving each other enough space. Paul running a little bit wide, which cost him a 10th maybe. And that gave Sebastian P6 again. both in a very clean and fair battle here. It looks very, very good in Sector 2 now. And Raisin trying to close the gap to D'Cunha, which is about 3 seconds at the moment. We're about to get 1/3 of the race down. Lap 5 will be done in a few seconds. And now that group here has to fight hard. As Angry Orange and Tiny get into an incident which was highly avoidable, because Tiny tried to overtake Angry Orange on the inside, but Angry Orange had other plans. He wanted to pit, and yeah, he went into the pits, and both touched. Tiny hit the wall, and I think he has damage from that. D'Cunha, the laughing third, just glitching through. That's pretty much it. Tiny has damage to his car, so he will probably pit now on lap 6, and he has D'Cunha, Raisin behind him, as D'Cunha is increasing the gap to P2, which is absolutely crucial at the moment, because Raisin is a little bit trapped behind Tiny here in Sector 2, and D'Cunha has clean air. That's a big moment for him. Yeah, Raisin had to brake a lot here. Tiny will come in because he has damage. Raisin will probably stay out as he is on the medium tires. Tiny is coming in. Paul is also coming in. He makes it, no penalty for him. Managed pretty well. And let's see if anyone else is coming in. Angry Orange, let's see where he will be after Tiny is leaving the pits. Oh, Tiny is still in his pit box. Angry Orange overtaking him right now because Tiny has damage. Angry Orange probably didn't have any damage, so he's overtaking him. P10 right now for Angry Orange, but probably still net P1. This will all come down to the last few laps of this race, as D'Cunha is still leading. He has a 3-second tire penalty to his name, which could be crucial in the end. But we'll see. Coming around that last corner. He's on the soft, so he will pull. Oh, Angry Orange just got a 3-second penalty himself, which will help D'Cunha a lot, and he is staying out for another lap. Maybe he's speculating on a safety car. Raisin is about 2 seconds behind, so no threat in regards of DRS or anything. Still clean air for D'Cunha, so he has nothing to lose at the moment, just everything to win, and he's going for it. Eskimo and Walterby both in the pits right now. Ryan Van Doom with another penalty. He is up to 6 seconds now. D'Cunha with 3, and Angry Orange was 3, and Eskimo was pitting onto the hard tires, so that was probably a mistake by himself or the pit crew, because you don't want to have the hard tires on for 10 laps around Brazil. That's pretty much bullshit. That could have gone better for him, but it is what it is. And Walterby's attacking already because he is on the soft tires. But Eskimo defending the position for the moment. But of course, Walterby with just much better tires. He has much more grip, and he has to overtake Eskimo ASAP. But in Sector 2, it's so hard to overtake if the guy in front of you doesn't make a big mistake. Professor Zoo and Castor now up to P11 and P12. Rob is in the pits now. D'Cunha stayed out for another lap because Raisin is not in his DRS, so he can just focus on himself, focus on the track in front of him, because he has still clean air, which is very important at the moment. Castor just overtook Professor Zoo on the pit straight with the help of DRS. Zoo will have the DRS himself now. He's pushing hard down the inside, and he's re-overtaking Castor. for P11. They're both fighting very hard. Completely unnecessary, to be honest. They much better work together to climb up the rankings instead of fighting each other, which makes no sense because they're in the midfield right now. As Dicunia is now into the pits, Raisin takes over the lead of the race. Septek is staying out for another lap. Sebastian climbing up to P3. And let's see where Angry Orange and Dicunia will be. Angry Orange just coming onto the main straight. He's fighting with Paul, who has the DRS on him. And I think Dicunia will stay ahead of Angry Orange. Or not will stay ahead, he's overtaken him basically. And that's a pretty good gap for him. That's around 3 seconds. That is big for Dicunia. Paul and Angry Orange fighting for P7, but the gap between Dicunia and Angry Orange is 3 seconds, and Dicunia has much fresher medium tires. So big advantage for him, of course. He has a gap of 5.5 to Moshe, so clean air for him, which is pretty important at the moment. Let's see what Raisin is doing, if he's coming in now, because he can easily come in, and he's staying out. Well, he could use those soft tires right now to have a big advantage. He's staying out for another lap. Septek's coming in, breaking the wing in the wall. Good job, good job. Ryan Van Doom coming into the pits again. Whew, that was close. Moshe is staying out. Dicunia will overtake Ryan Van Doom because he's in the pits, of course. Septek too. So that's P4 for Dicunia right now. The battle for the lead is Dicunia against Raisin. Raisin is still in P1 out on track on his mediums. He will pit onto the soft tires. Dicunia is on fresh mediums right now with more than 7 laps to go in this race. Castor and Professor Zoo still very close together now in P9 and P10. Climbing up the rankings because of the pit stops. We'll have a closer look at the position changes as soon as the 3 guys ahead have pitted, and Raisin is pitting now. He's coming in. We jump on board with Dicunia to see if he's able to overtake Raisin, who's in the pits right now. Just coming out of his pit box, down the pit lane. Oh, this will be close. Dicunia into turn 1, into the center, but it seems like Raisin is ahead of him. Maybe a second? Not by much. A second or 1.5. It's 1.5 at the moment. Raisin is ahead. So the alternate strategy working beautifully for him. He's on soft tires. Ryan Van Doom just retired from this race. Will there be a safety car? He retired in the Sen S. Will there be a safety car? That could change everything in this race. Sebastian in P1 at the moment, Moshe in P2. There's no safety car at the moment, still yellow flags. Rob getting a penalty, green flags, no safety car. And Sebastian is coming in right now. Moshe will probably also come in. He has Razor right behind him who have the DRS on him. Yeah, and the gap to Dicunia increased now. Of course, Raisin is on fresh softs. Dicunia is on mediums. But he made up a few positions from the start. 3 positions for him, 10 for Raisin, which is very, very big. But P2 is a big result at the moment. And he has Angry Orange more than 4.5 seconds behind him, who's fighting with Paul still. Who's right behind him. The DRS at work down the inside. Angry Orange has more ERS left, a little bit more. And he makes use of it. Tiny with a 3-second time penalty. We'll take a look at the penalties. Dicunia and Angry Orange with 3. Paul, no penalties. Tiny and Rob 3. Moshe 3. And now we take a look at the position changes. Because now everyone has pitted. Raisin gained 10 positions. Is where he started. Paul lost 3 because he started on pole. Oh, Tiny just lost it. Tiny just lost his car and he's losing positions. Seb is up to P6. And now Casto is right behind Tiny. Oh, Tiny probably has damage. Oh no! I think Walterby crashed into Tiny. That's damage for Walterby. He has to pit. Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, he's making way for his teammate Septek. Oh, he has to be careful because Tiny's coming into the pits. Oh my god! What are these guys doing here? Use your brains. Septek PA, Tiny in the pits, Walterby in the pits. Castor up to P7 because of that. His teammate in P6. Castor getting 1 position, Septek losing 2 at the moment. Rob gained 9 positions up to P5. Paul still very, very close behind Angry Orange. Tacunia around 6 seconds behind Raisin, but he's comfortably in P2. He's gaining a lot here. He's just gaining a lot. He gets P2 in this race, and his championship lead will feel very, very comfortable. Eskimo in P9, gaining 3 positions at the moment. His teammate Moshe the same, gaining 3. Professor Zoo losing 5. He has pitted again. And Tiny and Walterby, of course, because of damage, they had to pit again, losing a lot of positions, which is absolutely normal. We jump on board with Paul, who's still very close behind Angry Orange in the DRS window. He doesn't need to go for the overtake because Angry Orange has penalties, and Rob behind him has also penalties, and Rob is not even in his DRS, but Sebastian and Castor are both gaining on Rob, so this could be a very spicy last lap. Take a look at the tyres. So the oldest tyres in the field right now are with Castor, 12 lap old mediums. Angry Orange with 8 lap old mediums. Other than that, everyone has still kind of fresh tyres. Even the 5 lap old softs from Rob, they're still fine. He will easily finish the race on those tyres. Castor having the DRS on his teammate. They probably won't be fighting for it. Nope, Sebastian staying on the racing line here. Castor down the inside, taking P6 for the moment. And Sebastian just staying right behind him as a good exit, so there could be a re-overtake. But Castor doesn't want to give it to him. Nope, Sebastian backing off. So they're going for P6, P7 in the other order. Eskimo getting a 3-second time penalty. And Professor Zoo just overtook Moshe. He has fresh softs on. And Eskimo with 3 seconds now, so Professor Zoo has to gain another 1.7 within those last 2.5 laps to overtake Eskimo on penalties. Paul is still only 7/10 behind Angry Orange in the DRS. Let's see if he's going for an overtake, but Casto and Sebastian are just melting down. That gap to Rob is only 1.4 at the moment. Sebastian already down on ERS, Casto still with around 30%, Rob with around 20%. So small advantage here for Casto, but he needs to push, and his tyres are 14 laps old. So we'll see how much he can push, but the gap is reducing. It's only a second at the moment, so if he gets a good sector 2, he's right there. Rob also has a penalty, so both Mercedes could overtake him. And Angry Orange right now has also 3 seconds, so if they can overtake Rob and then push a little bit more on the last lap, it's still possible to also overtake Angry Orange. But they need to push very, very hard. Raisin now crossing the line for the last lap of this race. Casto needs to overtake Rob on this straight and defend on the next one. He has to stay in front and gain as much time as he can. On to Paul and Angry Orange, and Paul is now going for the overtake against Angry Orange. Side by side. Paul with the DRS again on the next straight. Let's see if he can make it. Casto not overtaking Rob. Didn't work out. Maybe now. We also have to close you watch this one. Angry Orange staying ahead. Casto around the outside. Can he do it? Ah, not really. It was close, but didn't work out. Yeah, now Casto has to overtake him in the infield, which is almost impossible. So it's probably just about retaining P6 and getting P5 at the end. Could have been worse, to be honest, as Raisin is now finishing this race in P1 after gaining a lot of positions. Oh, something happened. It's a Haas, it's Tiny who had a moment. D'Cunha is crossing the line in P2. Great result for him in the Drivers' Championship. Angry Orange. Oh, Paul! Paul lost it. Paul is the one who caused the yellow flags. Paul has lost it. He's out. That means Castro and his teammate got up to P4 and P5 respectively. Rob in P6 because of the penalty. Septek P7, Eskimo P8, Professor Zu P9, Mosha P11 because Wall to be on penalties, P10, and Tiny, the last one, coming up here. He's on full speed. Maybe, is he low on fuel? Is he low on fuel? I think he's low on fuel. Tiny's low on fuel, but he's finishing the race in P12. But man, that DNF from Paul, we didn't catch it on stream unfortunately, but man, last corner. What happened there? Extremely unfortunate for him. Extremely unfortunate because he had no penalties. He would have gained P3 if I'm not mistaken. But because of that DNF, we have Raisin as a winner, D'Cunha in P2. And we have Angry Orange staying in P3. A great drive by Raisin, who gained round about 10 positions. D'Cunha had a great start and just took advantage of it to stay in that top 3 all the time during the race and clinching P2 at the end of the day. Angry Orange, because of the DNF from Paul, staying in P3. Castro P4, Sebastian P5. Very good points for Mercedes. Big points for them. Rob coming from P14 to P6. Septek staying in P7. Good result for him. Professor Zoo finishing in P8 at the end of the day with 2 stops. Eskimo in P9. Walter B P10, who also had to take 2 stops. And Moshe P11. And Tiny finished P12 at the end of the day. Paul and Ryan Van Doom both DNF'd from this race. So 12 guys finished off 14. Very, very unfortunate situation for Paul here on the last lap to DNF. Could have gone a little bit better maybe. But yeah, it is what it is. So we're going to take a little break between Brazil and Spain now. Round about 10 minutes. We will be back at 9:25. Welcome back, everyone, to our second race of the night here in the Einstein League in Spain, and it looks pretty cloudy, pretty grey. So let's see if it's only like cloudy weather or if maybe some rain pops up. Our first race in Brazil had two DNFs in Ryan Van Doom and Paul, who DNF'd on the last lap, on the last corner, which was very unfortunate. Raisin won that race. D'Cunha came second. Angry Orange in P3, followed by both Mercedes in Casto and Sebastian. To Spain, a very, very nasty track. It can be a very nasty track. It can also be quite a forgiving track if you don't bin it into turn 1, turn 3, turn 6 and 7, I think it is, and the chicane. But other than that, it's fine. So who cares? But yeah, let's see what's about to happen here. Because normally we have a lot of action on this track. Racing action, of course, into turn 1 after the long straight. You can overtake very, very good with DRS. And we have, I think, 16 or 17 laps to go on this track. Boltex just joined for the second race, which means we have 15 drivers in now for a second one. He starts, of course, at the back because he didn't compete in the first race of the night. Tiny is starting from pole position in his Haas, followed by Moshe in the Red Bull, Walterby in the Alfa Romeo. Moshe's teammate Eskimo will start right behind him in P4. In P5 we have Professor Zoo, followed by Sepdeg, Rob, both Mercedes and Sebastian and Casto. Then Angry Orange in the Williams, D'Cunha P11, Raisin P12. P1 from Brazil will start at the back, but in front of everyone who hasn't raced in the first race, DNF'd or got disqualified. Paul and Ryan Van Doom DNF'd in Brazil, which means they start even behind Raisin, and Boltex, who hasn't raced in the first race, will start from P15. We take a look at the tyre choices and we can see that the top 9 decided to go for soft. Angry Orange, the first one on mediums. D'Cunha and P11 chose to start on softs. Behind him, Raisin, Paul, Ryan Van Doom, all on the mediums, and Boltex in P15 also starts on the soft tyres. We also have the telemetry on, so we can see how much ERS is left with the boys, and of course we have the full track map on, so you can follow your favorite driver around the track. Tiny did a very quick formation lap. He's already in the last corner, and then we have a good gap to Moshe, and Walterby, who himself has a quite big gap to Eskimo in P4, who's kind of leading the rest of the pack down to Boltex in P15. Tiny already on his grip position as Boltex. Oh no, we have a McLaren there. It's Rob, who had a little adventure there after the chicane, but it's not too bad. On the formation lap you don't get any damage, so easy work for him to climb up to P7 on the grip position at the start. And we of course gonna watch the start from pole position from Tiny down to turn 1 to see who is leading the race after turn 1 and turn 2. 4, 5 red lights going out in Spain, and Tiny with a good start, but Moshe with an even better start Walterby also with a good one. Professor Zoo losing positions here. Moshe down the inside. Aye, he got clipped by Tiny. And then there's a little massacre. Massacre, not massacre. Massacre is a Greek dish. And Rob, Professor Zoo also got collected in that. So Moshe down to P13, Zoo 14, Rob 15. And they probably all have damage. Now I think Moshe doesn't have any damage. But I think Professor Zoo has damage yet to the right side of his wing. And Rob seems like he also has damage. Yeah, he has damage to the left side of his wing. Tiny still leading the race. Walterby in P2 now. Eskimo P3. Castle P4. His teammate Sebastian lost a few places. I think he has damage to the left side of his wing. Let's see. He has damage to the left side of his wing. So he needs to pit now. He has Ryan Van Doom right behind him. In P9 and Septek. Ay. Just making the corner. Maybe he gave Ryan Van Doom damage too. But we'll see. Oh yeah, now he has damage. Now it's pretty obvious. Oh, Ryan Van Doom is very impatient to overtake Sebastian here into the pits. We have a lot of pits now. Raisin is also pitting. Raisin, Sebastian, Ryan Van Doom, Septek, Paul, Rob, Engeronge, they're all pitting. And we have a double stack at Ferrari, which is double unfortunate for Ryan Van Doom. And we now have a top 7, which hasn't pitted yet. And of course stayed out. Moshe trying to close the gap to the guys in front. And Walterby somehow ended up in P6 now. What has happened to him? He wasn't comfortably in P2. He has no damage to his wing. Maybe he lost it somewhere. But that means Casto is up to P2 now. Eskimo P3. Under pressure from Dicunia, who's now already up to P4. His teammate Boltex started in P15. Who's up to P5 now? What a start by him. 7 places for Casto, 7 for Dicunia, 10 for Boltex. Even though Raisin had to pit, he still climbed up 4 positions. But that's big now for the top 4. As Dicunia, as Eskimo is weaving down the straight to not get overtaken by Dicunia, but he's going down the inside, braking. He's ahead of Eskimo. Yeah, he's getting the position P3. Yellow flag, that's Tiny in the wall. Tiny is in the wall. Boltex overtaking him. Tiny down to P5, but he has damage probably because he hit the wall. Walterby behind him. He has to be very careful now because he will gain a lot on Tiny, but he's not allowed to hit him. Otherwise, he gets damage too. It's absolutely crazy. Let's see if Tiny really has damage. You can't see that he has damage. Maybe he has a little bit, but you just can't see it. His wing looks actually fine. But Walterby right behind now. Half a second. He will get the DRS on him. Just to stay right behind and maybe get the chance on the main straight. Castor up to P1. Dicunia P2. But already a gap of 3.5 seconds between P1 and P2. Eskimo P3 at the moment. Boltex 3.5 behind him in P4. Tiny doesn't have the DRS on Boltex, so Walterby is in a very good position here. He needs a good exit, good stability and traction out of that last corner. He has that. He's 4.5 tenths behind. A little bit of ERS. That will do the trick. Down the inside, he has Tiny pretty easily. P5 for Walterby, who's now coming for Boltex. Only a second behind him. And we have a big train here. From Paul down to Rob. From P10 to P13. Professor Zoo is not in the DRS of Paul. Yellow flag sector 3, that's Rob. Oh, Rob lost it in the last corner. Maybe on the exit of the chicane. He doesn't have damage, but he's lost now. What a race. After just 4, not even after 4 laps. Just on lap 4. Zoo is on hards because he had to pit very early and he wants to finish that race. Septek also on hards. Angry Orange on softs. Ryman Doom on softs. Rob on mediums. And Raisin is also on soft. Sebastian is on mediums. So, oh man, that field is divided by a lot. So we have top 8 on softs. Then we have Sebastian on mediums. 2 hard runners. Walterby is pitting. Walterby is pitting on lap 5. Ryan Vadoub just retired. Ryan Vadoub retired. We have a safety car. Oh my god, that's big for Walterby. He's just pitting. Is he he's coming out in front of the safety car in the pit lane. That's crucial. That's absolutely crucial. Raisin is also pitting now. Let's see if he's going for mediums or again for fresh softs. He's the one who's going for aggressive strategies normally, but now he's going for the safe option. Mediums for him. Where is Casto? Sector 2. The gap is 8.5 to D'Cunha. Why is the gap 8.5? What happened here was 3.5 just 2 laps ago. The gap between Eskimo and Boltex increased by half a second. Raisin was allowed to overtake the safety car. So all the runners from P7 down to P14, they all have pitted now for fresh mediums. All the other guys from P1 to P6 will also pit for fresh mediums. Of course. It's the only option. So that means we will have everyone on fresh mediums. I think we've never had that before. Same tires, the same tire age. Crazy. No penalties for speeding into the pit lane. Moshe getting a little bit of speed out of it so he doesn't double stack with Eskimo, who's just leaving the pits. Moshe coming in. It's still technically a double stack, but that only cost him maybe a second. Oh, he's getting a new wing. That will cost him 5 seconds more. And Walterby is now overtaking those guys. He's up to P3 now. He stole the position from Eskimo. Eskimo down to P4. Castro staying in P1. D'Cunha P2. Walterby now P3. Eskimo P4. Boltex right behind in P5. Tiny P6. Moshe just coming out of the pits in P7. He also lost the position against Walterby, of course. And Raisin will be right behind him in P8. Followed by Sebastian Paul, Professor Zoo, Septek and Angry Orange. Oh, and Rob DNF too. Okay. Okay. Just DNF. Absolutely madness. I don't know where or why Rob DNF, but he was on fresh mediums. He probably DNF'd behind the safety car. Fuck me. So right now we have everyone on fresh mediums. Who's doing the Kimmy? No one's doing the Kimmy. Well, Eskimo's doing kind of the Kimmy. Not weaving. Good yup, good yup. Yeah, but not right now we have everyone on fresh mediums. Which could be 50% fucking boring. Or 50% fucking exciting. Because now they're all fighting with the same weapons and it all comes down to skill. Safety car will be staying out for another lap, which means at the end of lap 7, at the start of lap 8, we'll probably go again for the restart, which Castor will lead ahead of D'Cunha, Walterby, Eskimo, Boltex, just to name the top 5. Angry Orange had a little moment there, I think, but no damage to his car. He's in P13 at the moment. And I thought that maybe one of the back markers, like maybe Professor Zoo or Septek or Angry Orange, might pit now to just get the softs on, to do something different, to take a risk. But they all feel pretty comfortable on their mediums at the moment, which is absolutely fine. 5 seconds for Eskimo, because he had a collision with Boltex. Boltex is behind him, so he hit him. So those 5 seconds will probably get removed. But yeah, for the moment, of course, it stands. But there's a high probability that those 5 seconds will get removed from Eskimo's time. Pretty boring phase at the moment because we are behind the safety car, of course. But in a few seconds we will probably get the notification that the safety car is coming in. There it is. The safety car will be coming in on this lap, and the action will restart literally in a few moments. Casto is leading the pack. And especially around Spain, there could be a few collisions at the restart. Just to say it, because it could happen. Casto going down the chicane, taking a wide line, and he's now speeding up into the last corner. Good restart by him already. Almost a second away from the Cunha, and Walterby, oh, he smelled it! He's right there! Eskimo with the sleeper. 2 seconds behind Walterby. Walterby is not going for it. Eskimo has to defend against Boltex. Down the inside, defending the position. Still P4 for him, taking a clean corner here. Boltex still behind, no chance to overtake Eskimo now. Tiny right behind Boltex. Raisin is going for the overtake against Moshe down the inside. He has him. P7 for Raisin. Casto will try to do everything to get the Cunha out of the DRS and just run away from Raisin basically, because he's pushing hard now. He's in P7. He's going for P6 now. Round the outside against Tiny, he has him. P6 for Raisin. But he has to overtake Boltex. Boltex is kind of a K-Mac. He's hard to overtake. He's fighting clean, but he's very hard to overtake. It's not an easy job, especially if the DRS is not there yet. The gap between Casto and Cunha, 1.2 at the moment, almost 1.3. So that's a good gap for the moment. Raisin almost lost his car there at the exit of the chicane. No chance for him to overtake Boltex. Eskimo driving down the inside, coming back to the racing line now. He's staying ahead of Boltex for sure. Into turn 1. Walterby still in P3 behind Cunha, only half a second behind him. Oh, Tiny lost positions. He had a moment. He's in the gravel. Yellow flag sector 1, but it will be green in a few seconds, so no safety car or virtual safety car. Tiny down to P13, which means everyone is moving up a position down or up from P7. That means Sebastian now P7, Paul P8, Moshe P9 and so on, and Paul is very close behind Sebastian, who's trying to keep track with Raisin, who's right behind Boltex, who himself is right behind Eskimo. But they just stay in line. Boltex hitting Eskimo a little bit, and Raisin trying to take advantage here, but he's losing a lot of time here, which is pretty good for Casto, of course, and for Eskimo, who's just holding the position. He doesn't need to do anything just to defend the position, which he's doing at the moment. DRS is enabled, and Raisin is now trying to push. Eskimo's exit was pretty good, and Raisin knows he needs to do the overtake right now against Boltex down the inside. Boltex staying there, still side by side, but Raisin has the inside, so he gets P5 for the... Oh, he's blocking the inside immediately against Boltex, who's trying to go around the outside. He's right there. He's still right there. I told you, he's like K-Mac. He's not backing off. He stays there. He's just looking for a gap. But it seems like Raisin has it. P5 for Raisin. Right behind Eskimo now. Jumping on board again to see if he catches him with the help of DRS now, or if he just stays behind. He's using ERS, So it seems like he's going for his Eskimo defending. Oh, raise it down the inside. He hit Eskimo. Eskimo just staying there. Because that was a dive at the end of the day. And Eskimo is just staying there. Waiting for the DRS to come. Jumping on board with him. Raisin kind of had to take the dive there. Because from his perspective, it looked like Eskimo was braking a little bit early. Maybe Raisin was just braking pretty late. And he wanted to avoid a collision there. And there is a collision! Sebastian Sepp is in the wall, and that's a reset to track. Which at the end of the day means it's a disqualification. He has wing damage. Sepp just reset to track. His wing is completely gone. Tiny right behind him. Oh, he hit him! Oh my god. Boys, please use your brain. It's pretty obvious that Sebastian has damage. He's staying on the outside to let Tiny go, but Tiny just ran into the back of him, getting damage himself, and now Moshe will just eat him alive. On the straight here. Oh yeah, that was fucking close. Septek and Angry Orange are fighting. Nice battle. Inside, outside. Nice one. Septek defending the position against Angry Orange. But the DRS will come for Angry Orange, and Septek probably won't have it, as Professor Zoo is now up to P8 in a DRS train. And Walterby is overtaking D'Cunha finally. With the help of DRS, gap between Castro and P2, 3 seconds. D'Cunha trying to fight back here. But he's low on ERS. Walterby has more than 70%, so for D'Cunha it's just about staying right behind him, not losing time, because Raisin is up to P4, 4 seconds behind. So those two, D'Cunha and Walterby, they kind of need to work together now to give each other the DRS to stay away from Raisin. Boltex P5, Eskimo P6 at the moment, but he's in the DRS of Boltex. Pole only 4 tenths behind Eskimo, who has Professor Zoo only 4 tenths behind him. Eskimo losing the DRS on Boltex now. And Paul trying to set up an overtake here on Eskimo on the main straight. With the help of DRS and ERS, of course. He's using both of them right now. That will be easy work for him. No chance for Eskimo. What is Zoo doing? Zoo is also overtaking Eskimo. That DRS is very, very powerful. So P8 for Eskimo at the moment. Septek in P9, 2.8 seconds behind. If Eskimo can find a rhythm and just slot in behind Zoo here, he can stay in P8 and just get good points home for Red Bull. His teammate Moshe is in P10 at the moment, 7 seconds behind Septek. Angry Orange in the pits, pitting for fresh softs for the last few laps. Sebastian also in the pits for fresh softs. And Castro still leading the race, 4 seconds ahead of Walterby and D'Cunha. The gap to Raisin closed down to 2.5 seconds. So those two very hard. Yellow flags. It's a Mercedes. It is Sepp. Sepp just spun. He's in last place. Tiny with 3-second time penalty. I think for Sepp it's only about getting the fastest lap and getting some points home for Mercedes, but you have those races. You have those races. Instead of DNFing, just bring that shitbox home and get a few points for your team. Paul overtaking Boltex for P5. Zoo in P7 still. Eskimo in P8 still. Septek closing the gap to Eskimo a little bit. 1.8 seconds. The 5 seconds to Eskimo's name will probably get removed. The 3 seconds with Septek will stay. So advantage Eskimo here. But it's lap 14 of 17. Still 3.5 to go. As Raisin is closing down the gap. Only 2 seconds now. D'Cunha still has the DRS on Walterby, which will help him at the moment. Will help him at the moment to stay in P3. But fuck me, you never know. Sector 3, yellow flags. It's an Alpine, it's Boltex. Boltex spun, I think. Yeah, he did spin. P7 for Eskimo, P8 for Septek now. D'Cunha half a second behind Walterby. Still with the DRS, which will increase the gap to Raisin again to 2 seconds, which was down to 1.8. Yellow flags again. That's Boltex. I think he's out. Oh, he's not out, but ay. That's a biggie. In the gravel, losing more positions. Mosher not up to P9. Looks good for the Red Bulls now. P7 and P9 instead of P8 and P10. A little bit more points for them. Angry Orange with a penalty. Won't itch him. And Raisin only 1.4 now behind D'Cunha. Oh my god, this will be a close finish. Walterby with 70% of ERS left. D'Cunha with 19 and Raisin with 40. And Paul, no, Paul 6.7 behind. I thought that was something else, but I think, yeah, Sebastian, that's Sebastian. They lapped him. And Raisin is now in DRS range. He has DRS on D'Cunha. 2 laps to go, and Raisin is in DRS range to D'Cunha and Walterby. Oh my god, Sector 3, yellow flags. That's Boltex again. He spun again. And Angry Orange is coming closer and closer. Oh man, that's a jinx. He also spun. Fuck me. What is happening? What is happening? Back to the fight for P2 between Walterby, D'Cunha and Raisin. It's a DRS train right now. Walterby is leading the DRS train and D'Cunha is right behind him. He's probably preparing for the main straight to get him, but he has a huge issue, and that's his ERS. It's down to 13%. Raisin is on 46. Walterby is on 57. Oh my god, this will be a fucking battle on the last straight. And we're moving on to it. Last corner, DRS will be activated. Everyone is using their ERS and DRS. Let's see, fastest lap for Raisin. He's quick, he's quick. He's coming for D'Cunha, around the outside, they touch! Braking late, running deep. D'Cunha still there, I think. He's still there, down the inside, they touch again! D'Cunha's still there. He's still there. He's using every little bit of ERS left, but it's not enough. Raisin for P3. D'Cunha down to P4. What about Walterby? Is he safe? Raisin 8/10 behind, but he has 17% of ERS left. 35 for Walter. It seems like Walterby is safe. Sebastian 3 seconds. Walter's safe. Walter's safe for the moment. Paul also 3 seconds, and that is big because Professor Zoo is 2.7 behind. He realizes now. Castro down the chicane. Last corner, 4.6 to Walter. Solid one. That's a win for Castro and Mercedes. Big points for them. Walterby down the last corner. P2 for him. What a finish. Raisin P3, D'Cunha P4. Paul down the chicane. Last corner for him now. Professor Zoo just gained 2 seconds. That means Paul will finish in P6. Professor Zoo P5. Eskimo in P7. Septek will overtake him, but the 5 seconds will be removed from Eskimo's time. So P7 Eskimo at the end of the day, probably. Septek P8, Moshe coming home in P9. Boltex down the chicane. Although he spun a lot, he still managed to get P10 for Alpine, just to secure important points for them. He's finishing ahead of Sebastian, which is crucial after Castro's win in the Constructors. Tiny P11, Angry Orange finishing in P12, and Sebastian P13 for Mercedes. Drive of the day by Codemasters again, raising after finishing P3. Speaking of drive of the day, everyone in the Scientist Reverse Grid League community has the chance to vote for their personal driver of the day, which will give, like, you have to vote, and which is 1 championship point at the end of the day. So you vote for your driver of the day, and if he gets the most votes, he will get an extra point in the championship for himself and for his team. So that's pretty big. Razor will get 2 extra points for being driver of the day by Codemasters in both races. Let's see if he also gets 2 points by the community. But right now, as it stands, we have Castro in P1 here in Spain, Walter B in P2, Razor in P3, also with the fastest lap, D'Cunha in P4, P5 for Professor Zoo, Paul in P6, Septek finishing in P7, behind him Eskimo. Those 5 seconds will probably get removed, which will change the order between those two. Moshe P9, P10 for Boltex, Tiny finishing in P11, Angry Orange P12, Sebastian in P13, and then we have Rob and Ryan Van Doom as our DNFs for the night. So that's it from the Einstein League here in the Scientist Reverse Grid League. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for your comments, and thank you all for watching. It was a pleasure as always, and we will hear from each other next week in the Einstein League for rounds 8 and 9, if I'm not mistaken. That was 6 and 7, and after that comes 8 and 9. I'm very excited for the next 2 ones, because Brazil and Spain have been very entertaining. So I'm very excited for those two. Hope you are too. Wishing you a great weekend. Stay healthy, of course. Stay safe, and good night.